Hi, everyone. It's April Fool's. It must be because we're back in studio. It seems so long. I'm Dom Izzo, by the way.
Jeff Kolpack.
Nice
Good to meet
see
you.
you
Yes.
as well. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Bison Video Blog. We begin a new month. March was hectic, to say the least, from running around, from Jeffrey covering from Sioux Falls to Seattle. Thanks to Jody Norstead for filling in as well on the blog. Spring ball arrived bright and early on Sunday. Jeff, as a new season of North Dakota State football is here for the four-time champs. It's a really interesting era out there without the guys we've come to know over the last 5 seasons, from a Christian Dudzik to a Kyle Emanuel to a Colton Hegel. They're all gone now. It's a new group out there, and a group that's got a lot of expectations, obviously, with them, and a lot of stuff to prove as well.
And a lot of offense. You know, you talk about interesting things out there. They're practicing at 7:15 in the morning, and this is a crazy. They're doing more. That's like the Army commercial that I see out there. But you're seeing a lot of newness on defense. Especially in linebackers and in the safeties. And you're seeing an offense, I think, that's going to have a chance to be pretty high-powered.
Let's talk linebacker, because obviously a lot of the fans have been tweeting us about this, about who's going to step up at linebacker. Obviously losing Carlton Littlejohn and Travis Beck. Nick DeLuca is back in the middle. We know that. On the outside, though, there's a big question mark, and it could be 2 redshirt freshmen that may see some big-time playing minutes come in the fall.
You like Levi Jordan and Dan Marlette, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
But I think Pierre T. Tucker is the guy.
He's going to get the first shot.
He's the guy that got mentioned today, by the way, as we're sitting here on a Wednesday, that Chris Kleiman said Pierre G. Tucker really had a good practice today. So he's 6'1", 220. He's been around. He needs to be healthy.
Yes.
He just needs to be healthy to have a good year.
Jordan is a walk-on from Dickinson, who we heard the coaching staff rave about on the scout team last year. Dan Marlette is a kid from Sioux Falls, both of them 45 and 48. And you see Travis Beck working with Jordan this morning. That's a pretty good guy to lean on for some advice. But Chris Kleiman told me they're going to want 6 guys to rotate. This isn't going to be like the last few years where it's been the 3 guys playing 98% of the snaps.
Well, here's my question on those guys. And you alluded to Travis Beck there. Can these guys cover like Travis Beck? Are they as fast as he is on the outside? Because Travis Beck could run fill and he could pass cover.
Yep.
And those are 2 factors that were just absolutely critical and valuable to that playoff run.
MJ Stumpf is the other guy that's also getting a lot of reps with the first team. Stumpf and Tucker are going to get the first look, Jeff, come the spring game. I'm curious to see who's going to win that position battle. Those are 2 guys that have been in the program, Stumpf for 4 years and Tucker for 3.
Keep in mind, the Tampa 2 defense is pretty difficult to learn, so the advantage right there, you would think, would go to the guys that are returning. Because when you're redshirting during your practice time in the fall, you're imitating the opponent's defense. So you're not really learning your Tampa 2 and all those fits and run fits and all that lingo that they have to figure out. So this is a big spring for those guys to prove to the coaches that, yes, they can pick up the defense and they can pick it up like that.
Because you got to tackle the likes of Trey Roberson and Marshawn Coprich and the outstanding wide receivers of South Dakota State. That's who those linebackers are going to have to go up against come this fall.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to playing fast. Playing fast, but having the game slow down. If you're out there wondering where you should be, then you may have problems.
Wide receiver is another spot that always has our attention. I think it has for the last few springs. And there's a couple guys right there, 20 and number 89. That's Darius Shepard and Kayvon Hawkins. Hawkins wears 89 and Shepard wears 20. Both redshirt freshmen, Jeff. Both we've heard a ton about. Chris Kleiman and the staff been raving about these guys, and both are going to be expected to be counted on come the fall.
Right, and I'm doing actually a story on these guys for Thursday's paper. I talked to them both after practice today. Both, I think, and you talked to Chris Kleiman about this, have the right attitude. They're team guys. They're learning the system. They're not coming out there and saying, I'm the next Zach Vra right now. Although Hawkins did say, he goes, I'm starting to feel like a veteran, even though I'm not. I'm just learning the ropes. I'm starting to feel like maybe I can fit in a little bit there.
Great hands. He's
really
big,
impressive. Too.
Yeah,
he's listed at 6 foot, but I think he's bigger than that. I think he's 6'1", 205. But, you know, the coaches will say, well, R.J. Urzadowski came on the scene, big time last year. Well, R.J. had 32 catches. That's not really the South Dakota State blowing up guy.
Jake Winicky guy.
Thank you. The 50 catch. I'm still waiting for that guy to really have the breakout year. And here's the other big thing, Dom, is the offensive line is going to be very experienced coming back. You have Carson Wentz, who is very experienced coming back. But in the passing game, it'll do nobody any good if Carson Wentz is back there sitting and nobody gets open. And you just can't have Zach Vra or R.J. Urzadowski and depend on them. Maybe Kerry Woods in the mix. You have
your tight ends, Albers and Ilias, are both stepped up and we're good.
But you need those receivers to get open.
You need the big playability.
You can't have Carson Wentz back there for 7 seconds.
And that did not work. And there were certain games we saw that.
Yeah.
Where you and I would look at each other like, can nobody get open? Because you wonder if Wentz would have to run, and he does that very well and run for a first down, but you're wondering who's getting open downfield, and they haven't had that over the last couple of years.
He would literally go back, he'd shuffle his feet, and then he'd be stopped and just look around and go, okay.
Or he'd have all the time in the world to look for somebody. And I think that's really key to see who's going to step up and take that. Kleiman mentioned Kerry Woods is also, he's got to have a big spring. Looking forward for a big year in 2015 as well.
And again, Kerry Woods, he's got the experience. I think he's got the ability. But to me, I think he's got to show the ability to get open.
Yep. It's his 4th year in the program. It's a big spring.
There's a difference. You can be fast as can be. You can be lightning fast, but there's techniques to and
there's little subtle ways of getting open.
There's instinct of getting open.
No doubt about that. Are there any other guys that are catching your eye from out there? Place kicker is obviously new. I'm curious to see how Tom Barneson will adjust now that they have to replace that in Adam Keller. And the corners and safeties, which we're going to get into next week as well, I think is a really interesting position because obviously you have Champion and Smith on the corner, but safety, that's a free-for-all. We know Trey Dempsey's back there, but that other spot is still up for grabs.
I think Barneson will have to reserve until the spring game and see how he does under duress and in the fall and once games get going. Right. It's hard to judge when you're just watching them boot with nobody around.
Adam Keller, by the way, had an outstanding pro day as well. He had 11 of 13 field goals.
Right. It is big, though, in the kicking game that you have the long snapper back in James Fisher, and you have Ben LeCompte, who I joked he's back for his 7th year school. But really, having Ben an All-American and a punter is a big having him back.
You nodded him All-American because he hasn't been. I think he should have been All-American the last 2 years.
Should have been last year if he's not.
No doubt about that. Yeah. We're wrapping up the basketball season. Yesterday, the news broke that the Summit League Player of the Year, Lawrence Alexander, has been invited to the Reese's All-Star Game that will be played this weekend at the Final Four in Indianapolis. Becomes the second Bison, joining Ben Woodside, who did that in 2009. The accolades keep coming in. You mentioned about the Associated Press honorable mention. It's so hard to crack the top 3. He got honorable mention. It's the perfect cherry on top for what was an unbelievable season.
This is a great honor for him and a good opportunity to show some scouts to get a shot, if not in the NBA, if not the D League, perhaps Europe, where Trayvon and Taylor Braun have gone and had good years this year too. So I think that's big for him. For a mid-major player to get in this game and to be part of Final Four weekend, I think is a huge deal.
Jake Showalter is leaving the team. That news came out yesterday. True freshman who is part of the Germantown trio that NDSU was trying to get. Lamonte Bearden was one. He started as a true freshman at Buffalo this year. Team went to the tournament. And then even Wiesenberg and Showalter was the other one. Leaves a scholarship open now that it looks like NDSU is going to try and fill. They have a 5th guy coming in for the class of 2015.
Well, it's going to be big for those 2 guard commitments they have coming in with the JC kid and the kid from California. I don't think losing Showalter is a big deal. He played 38 minutes this year. I just don't, when I saw him, I just didn't think he had the
impact guy.
I don't think he's going to be an impact on the court next year. I thought that was the right decision. Probably mutual, I would guess, for both to split ways.
I'm curious to see how many true freshmen come in and play, though. Dylan Miller looks like a big guy who can come in and contribute right away for this team. Malik Clements is the junior college guy you're referring to.
And Kai Cabellas.
And Kai Cabellas is the other guard. I think Clements can come in and play right away as well.
I think he's going to have to.
Yeah.
Certainly he's going to have to play some role, whether it be a backup or he could take over the point. Is Carlin Dupree, is he molded enough to take over the point?
That's a good question.
I think it's Clement's job, and I like Dupree at the 2.
Yeah.
I just think he's better. He's more of a mix-it-up kind of guy. I think Clements comes in and takes the job at point if he has the ability.
The other guy, obviously, is Dangu out of Sioux Falls, which
I think he'll redshirt.
All indications he's not going to play next year. He's going to redshirt. We ran a story yesterday, I know you did in the paper today, about Lynn Dorn. Her final day at NDSU was yesterday. Final day as women's athletic director, which, as she mentioned in your column and did it with us on TV, that she's probably the last one to have that official title as women's athletic director, maybe in the nation.
Well, I have been corrected. The Texas Longhorns have a women's athletic director. I knew somebody. That's why I quoted her. Somebody would have piped in and said, Long Island State University has a women's AD. Does Stony Brook?
I don't know, so we can ask Mr. Larson about that.
Yeah, a great career for her. And that's just, it's time. It's time to move on. And we all wish her the best. To her credit, she built that program from the women's side earlier than almost everybody else did in the country. Built it in a Division II dynasty with Amy Rulli's recruiting, of course. And look at the women's softball right there with Darren Mueller.
They become the model.
Hey, they're sick. What are they? 5-0 against the Big Ten?
Big Ten. Well, you look she hired Darren Mueller, She hired Pete Guardado at soccer. They became a fantastic team. Obviously hired Tim Miles, and that turned out very well. Those hires alone, and the most recent one too in Martin Walseth. And I blogged about this yesterday. I think that's another home run. It's going to take a while. We've talked about that, but I believe that's proved to be another strong hire.
You're right. It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
It's going to take Martin Walseth. Next year, I think, is going to be even a tougher year, and it's going to be maybe 2-3 years. You talk about a rebuilding project, she's got it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. NDSU spring ball continues. Their first scrimmage comes up a week from Saturday. Jeff and I will be covering stories between now and then as NDSU gets ready for a new season in 2015. For Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. That's the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog.